Good day and welcome to our show for today, Political Spectrum. It's a program designed to help make sense of major developments in our nation's polity and political economy. Political Spectrum comes to you live from Uyo, the state's capital. And I'm yours sincerely, Onumese Ehinoma Olusegun, your host. As usual, our conversations continue on everyday political economic developments in Nigeria. But first, on President Tinubu's administration's calendar, today is August the 29th, Tuesday 2023, and it marks exactly 93 days of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in office as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That is now 3 months and 2 days as we gradually get closer to his first 100 days in office. Now, we begin to track our reports from various regions and states at the sub-national level today. We are going to be taking a few states, and we start with the one that seems to be trending. Residents invade loot palliatives warehouse in Bayelsa. I'm sure a lot of you will be surprised, but for some of you who are already on social media, there are a lot of videos making the rounds. Now, hungry residents of Yenagoa, the Bayelsa state capital, on Sunday reportedly broke into a private warehouse used by the state government to store palliatives from the federal government to cushion the likely effects of the anticipated flood. It was gathered that the senator representing Bayelsa Central Senatorial District, Konobowe Benson, allegedly owns the warehouse, which is located along Isaac Boro Expressway in the state, that is Yenagoa. Now, residents who stormed the warehouse in their numbers claim that they were looting the palliatives due to the hardship in the country occasioned by the removal of subsidy on petrol. Now, the Bayelsa State Emergency Management Agency, also known as BYSEMA, yesterday warned the public that the food items looted from a warehouse in Yenagoa, the state capital, by some residents were unfit for human consumption. BYSEMA's Director General, Walama Igrubia, advised those who pillaged the facility not to consume the items because of safety reasons, and that a responsible, caring government like theirs will not give Bayelsa such items as those expired palliatives, according to him. Now, Igrubia also added that as part of preparations for an impending flood this year, he visited the premises, and in his presence, remnants of the food items, notably rice, gari, that were no longer fit for consumption, were cleared from the warehouse and placed outside for disposal for the next day. Now, he said, and I quote, "The remnants which were swept from the floor and packed in disused bags were less than 10 bags of rice and gari, and with some broken cans of oil." For emphasis, I'm still quoting him, BYSEMA states that these items were not fresh food palliatives and were not hoarded by the agency of the state government. In essence, there were really no food items to loot. So those who carted away the unfit items are please advised in their own interest not to consume them. Igrubia assured Bayelsans of the agency's preparedness to handle the distribution of palliatives provided by the federal government as part of cushioning the effects of its fuel subsidy removal policy, as well as the fallout of impending flooding this year. Recall that we have been warned again that there probably may be likelihood of some huge flooding, which occurred, I think, sometime around last year and displaced a lot of families and got some people killed. Now, but a concerned resident, Alagwa Morris, slammed BYSEMA, responding to BYSEMA for allowing the items in the warehouse to go bad without even distributing them to the victims of 2022 flood that ravaged the state. Now, he said, and I quote, "If truly 2022 monster flood-related items were so stocked and denied victims, it is unfortunate and leaves much to be desired. Yes, there is hunger in the land. There's hunger in Nigeria. And it's no doubt. But no matter what, not everyone will take actions not supported by the law. Let this be a lesson to all stakeholders." Now, there you have it. a lot of questions will come to your mind. Could it be out of hunger or could it be out of desperation? But here, we understand that the economic situations are very terrible, and hence every average citizen is looking for opportunities to be able to get at least 1 or 2 square meals a day with himself and his family. Well, as at filing this report, we are yet to hear from the executive governor. We hope that probably while we are live now, he probably would have made 1 or 2 statements. But we urge him to look at the situation and try to arrest it. Now, still at the subnational level, we move to Akwa Ibom. Akwa Ibom government partners with Navy to revive marine transport. Now, it's no longer news that under the able hands of His Excellency, the Executive Governor, Pastor Umweno, there's been series of plans and relationship with the Navy. But this time, it is to develop the blue economy, because according to experts, there are a lot of millions of naira that even states lose, by not, exploiting all those opportunities of marine life and the blue economy. Now, the Akwa Ibom government says it entered into a partnership with the Nigerian Navy to build boat crews and transportation boats, that is cruise and transportation boats, to revive marine sector in the state. Now, the Commissioner for Transport, Oman Esin, disclosed this while speaking with newsmen in Uyo on Monday. Mr. Esin said the partnership would provide alternative routes to land transportation in the state. The commissioner said the Nigerian Navy had submitted a design of how the boats would look like and expected to complete the construction within 1 year. Now, Mr. Esin said, and I quote, "We are in serious interface with the Navy to build boat crews and transportation boats that will be carrying people from Oron to Calabar. The design is on, and since we don't want capital flight, we will have the Navy to build the boats for us, since they will give us internal security also." He further added, and I quote, "I had a meeting with the Admiral in charge of the dock and marine operations of the Navy, along with the Secretary to the State Government and Commissioners for Internal Security. We are certain that as soon as we get a design and the approval of His Excellency for the design, the boat construction will commence immensely." The Commissioner further said that the Navy gave the state government a delivery timeline of 6 months, but the government opted for 8 months instead, for reasons best known to them. Now, we are believing God that by the second quarter of next year, we should have a new ferry cruising on the shore from Oron to Calabar. Cargo is also in plan, but it's a mid-term approach we are thinking about, where we will have a cargo ship that will be carrying cargo from Lagos down to Akwa Ibom. It will be easier and better for our people, Mr. Esin said. He, however, expressed displeasure that the state government had yet to tap the full potential of the marine economy due to lack of extant laws. Mr. Esin said that in the interim, the Ministry of Transport had concluded arrangements to inaugurate a local content committee to harness the benefits of marine economy in the state. He assured that with the creation of a Ministry of Internal Security, the government will check insecurity along the waterways to encourage business transactions in the marine sector effectively. Now, the commissioner said he was going to inaugurate the Ministry of Transport's local content committee on Tuesday, that is today, because the extant law had yet to be enacted. I quote him, "If we are able to have extant laws, have good security and good relationship with the community around the marine environment, I believe the marine sector in Akwa Ibom State will be something that we'll be proud of," he said. Now, still at the subnational level, but away from Akwa Ibom, now into Edo State. Of course, for some of us who have been following the developments between the current governor and the deputy governor, from all ramifications of the word, it is obvious that things are getting more awry and more chaotic, because this new development is an indicator that underscores that the relationship, instead of getting better, has become very deplorable. Now, more woes for Deputy Governor Shaibu as Edo government disbands Deputy Governor's media crew and the Edo governor gives fresh directives. Now, a press release was issued yesterday that the Edo government disbands Deputy Governor's media crew and direct Ministry of Communications and Orientation to step in the case of the Deputy Governor. Now, there was a mild drama that almost marred the 60th anniversary colloquium of the creation of the Midwest region, which is now known as Edo and Delta states respectively. Now, as the press crew of the Deputy Governor of Edo State, Philip Shaibu, was sent out of the Sir Victor Waifo Creative Center venue of the ceremony based on orders from above, according to them, an aide to Shaibu told the media that, and I quote, they were inside before they were flushed out, they were picked out. I continue to quote, the Deputy Governor had to go, and as we speak, we are all in his house. That's the Deputy Governor's house. We were asked to leave. They said it was an instruction from above. We all know where the above is. Now, thereafter, a press release was issued with a directive to the Deputy Governor to henceforth request, if he ever needs, that he should request the Ministry of Communications and Orientation for media coverage of activities of his office for the remaining tenure. For the remaining time he is going to be in office, it is the Ministry of Information and Communication that will be handling his media activities. The Deputy Governor eventually left the venue when his media crew were not allowed back into the hall, which means they staged a walkout, at least according to eyewitnesses. Meanwhile, the colloquium in attendance had several dignitaries, include former governors of Edo State, which will include Comrade Adams Oshomole, now Senator, Professor Oserieme Osumbo, former Chief Whip of the Senate, Sir Roland Owie, Deputy Governor of Delta State, Sir Monday Onyeme, representatives from the Governor of Bayelsa State, former Deputy Governor of Edo State, Chief Mike Ogiadome, Secretary to the Edo State Government, Osaodion Ogie, Speaker of Edo State House of Assembly, Mr. Blessing Agbebaku, among others. Now, Governor Obaseki, in his remarks, saluted Oba Eweka II, Oba Kenzua II, Chief Dennis Osadebe, and Chief Anthony Enahoro, amongst other very, very important people who secured the creation of the then Midwestern region. He said these heroes braved the odds and battled to create a distinctive political identity for a people who have always loved and cherished their freedom, culture, and creative energies. Now, Obaseki said, however, that 60 years after the referendum, the people are still bedeviled with numerous socio-economic challenges which require a reset of the institutions and structures that propped the region up in the past. Now, in a goodwill message, Senator Oshomole, who lauded the initiative to organize the colloquium, noted that a lot had been achieved since the 1963 referendum. He added that if the people of Edo and Delta were to be still part of the Western region, persons like himself, Professor Oserieme Osumbo, and the present governor, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, may not have had the opportunity to become governors. Now, the press release that banned the deputy governor's media aid was signed by the current Honorable Commissioner for Communication and Orientation, Mr. Chris Osa Neihari, which means it's an official document from the office of the executive governor. Now, away from that, US-UK organizations released reports on how ex-President Buhari allegedly funded Ebubeagu in Southeast, according to them, to kill residents. Now, the allegations went further that they used Imo, Ebonyi governments, as executors. Now, a special investigation report by some research groups and civil society organizations in the United States, the United Kingdom, and Nigeria have revealed how former Muhammadu Buhari allegedly, I use that word advisedly and emphatically, allegedly used the Ebubeagu security outfit to harass and kill, according to them, thousands of innocent Igbo residents and push for a radical Islamic agenda in the southeast region. Now, the report was published as a collaborative effort of the International Society for Civil Liberties and Rule of Law, Inter-Society. The Ekwenche Research Institute was also part of it in Chicago, Illinois, USA. The Global Igbo Leaders Coalition, GIL, were also a part of the research in United Kingdom. And the Rising Sun Charities Organization, Newark, New Jersey, USA. Now, the organization noted that the Ebube-Agu security arrangement was also a channel through which illicit small arms, small and light arms, and light weapons were proliferated into the region. Adding that the states like Imo and Ebonyi state governments were particularly culpable in the implementation of the jihadists' Fulani and Islamic agenda. That's a very huge allegation. Now, the report was signed by researchers, including, I'll mention their names, Emeka Umeagbalasi for Inter-Society, Osita Dimma Agu for Ekwenche Research Institute in Chicago, USA, then Professor Justin Akujieze, board chairman, Ekwenche Institute, Nze Amadiebude Mbama for Global Igbo Leaders Coalition, Georgia, USA, and Bridget Okafor, Rising Sun Charities Organization there in the UK. Now, the report stated that the remote reasons behind the rising and proliferation of more than 20 armed killer entities in Igbo land, now currently ravaging it, especially southeast and Igbo parts of South Nigeria since 2015 and January 2021, when escalations and proliferation heightened, was traced back to Buhari's bent on laying siege, conquering and enslaving the Igbo land. Now, not only laying siege on the Igbo land, and also her defenseless population and properties for purposes of radical Islamism and politics of hate, segregation, and exclusion. Now, according to the report titled, "Who is Killing Who?" outside the law in Igbo land, the worst affected states include Imo and the Ebonyi states, followed by Anambra, Enugu, Abia, Rivers was also mentioned, and Delta states. The report said, now by early 2016, the Buhari's government allegedly initiated secret Islamic conquest movements of the jihadist Fulani headsmen and other jihadists, assembled from within and outside Nigeria and armed with AK-47s. This was the beginning of the political and religious insecurity and proliferation of illicit small arms and light weapons in Igbo land. The Islamic conquest movements were also strongly suspected to have been heavily aided and protected by the Nigerian military formations, during which forests, bushes, farmlands of South, Southeast, and Middle Belt and Christian parts of the Southwest were invaded, seized, and occupied. Now, findings by Inter-Society later showed that over 700 communal locations, including forests, bushes, farmlands across the Southeast and Igbo parts of River, Delta, Edo, Akwa Ibom, Cross River, Nasarawa, Kogi, and Benue states have been seized and occupied by jihadist Fulani headsmen and other government assembled jihadists as of 2022. These findings were also corroborated by a former police DIG retired in 2020, who in 2021 disclosed that not less than 336 locations in the Southeast have been occupied by Fulani headsmen and armed with AK-47s, and also using conformist political actors, including top government functionaries within the regions in Ebonyi State under Umuahi, for example. The allegations continue, and Imo states under Hope Uzodimma. Now, they say, and I quote, the above was to the extent that the past government of Ebonyi State was strongly suspected to have been federally contracted to counterfeit and counter the IPOB's Eastern Security Network formed in December 2020, leading to the launch of Ebube-Agu security arrangements in April of 2021 to counter the ESN and sustain jihadist Fulani headsmen terrorism in Igbo land. The idea behind the Buhari security arrangement was later found to have been muted by the Buhari government of Nigeria using the chairmanship of the Southeast Governors Forum in Ebonyi State, where the dreaded security outfit was unveiled in December of 2021. It was renamed in March 2023 as the Ebonyi State Vigilante Corps and the Ebonyi State Neighborhood Watch. The above was as a result of the proscription of the Buhari Vigilante Group by a federal high court sitting in Abakaliki in February 2023. Now, finally, the Buhari security arrangement is therefore only a counterfeit and anti-self-determination instrument. The insecurity and other unsafe conditions in Igbo land are further fueled by the growing number of illicit small arms and light weapons, estimated to be 2 million in circulation and in wrong hands. This is out of Nigeria's estimated 7 million small and lightweight weapons. The report added that some governors are found in this special investigative report to be busy, waitfully, and lavishly spending billions of naira monthly on security votes without anything to show for it. Inter-society, in collaboration with the undersigned international partners, have also investigated and found that there exists commissioners of Homeland Security and Vigilante Affairs in Imo State, the Commissioner for the Internal Security and Border Peace and Conflict Resolution in Ebonyi State, and Commissioner for Homeland Security in Anambra State. Similar portfolios also exist in Abia and Enugu states. These are in addition to the offices of the Governor's Special Security Advisors in Ebonyi states. There are Governor's Special Advisors on Security for each of the state's 13 local government areas, or Special Security Advisors to Ebonyi State's Governor for Abakaliki, Izi, Eza North, Afikpo South, Afikpo North, Ohaoku, Ebonyi, Onitsha, Ishielu, Eza South, Ikwo, Ivo, and Owazara. The state is also presently dotted with 35 commissioners, apart from openly or secretly coordinating the offensive and atrocious conducts and activities of many, if not most of them, if not the more than 20 government-linked private armies and political death squads, and condoning on conspiring with invading jihadists to wreak havoc in Igbo land. The Homeland Security Commissioners and Special Security Advisors of the Igbo land governors also serve as conduit pipes through which public funds worth billions of naira are wasted or squandered every month using governors' security votes as a cover. Now, these are real grave allegations. We'll go on a short break. For those of you who are just joining us, this is Political Spectrum on Spectrum Television. We'll go on a very short break. We'll be right back. Join us again.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated.
Proceeding.
It's not, my lord, but you can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding you, your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
All right, well, many thanks for staying tuned. Welcome back. And if you are just joined in, it's Political Spectrum, where we are following a lot of reports, starting from the subnational, a few states, Edo, Bayelsa, and Akwa Ibom. Now to our next report. Thereafter, we'll now call on our guest, who is going to be joining us virtually from the UK to join us in this conversation. But more importantly, Tinubu blames Chicago University clerk for anomalies and blatant irregularities, appearance of differences on academic certificate. Now, the Nigerian President Bola Tinubu has said that the clerk of Chicago State University CSU created appearance difference in a certificate with several unfortunate errors in the diploma certificate issued in response to the subpoena by Atiku Abubakar of the PDP requesting Tinubu's files with the university. Now, President Tinubu said the university is responsible for blatant irregularities that characterize a certificate the school reprinted in his name, saying that the unnamed clerk of the CSU unfortunately made the errors regarding the dates the school stated on his certificate and when he actually graduated, thereby creating the appearance of differences. Now, President Tinubu's statement was filed on Wednesday by his counsel as part of his argument before the United States District Court of the Northern District of Illinois in Chicago. A popular online media news company, I'm going to mention the company's name, People's Gazette, reported that. Now, Judge Jeffrey Gilbert of the United States District Court for the Northern District of Illinois in Chicago had given Tinubu until August 23rd, then, that's a few days ago, to explain why his academic records at Chicago State University should not be released to his political opponent Atiku, since Atiku had subpoenaed for it. Atiku earlier this month requested court approval to subpoena Tinubu's files domiciled with Chicago State University because he believed the documents will clarify glaring inconsistencies in the president's background, including publicly available documents that suggested that CSU in the 70s admitted a female student bearing Bola Tinubu, who was born on March 29, 1954. The story gets more interesting. Now follow us. President Tinubu said he was born on March 29, 1952, although he had also at different times listed 1954 as his birth year in the past. He also recently removed his primary and secondary education from his records after it was discovered that the schools he listed under oath in 1999 when he ran for the Lagos State governor election did not exist anywhere in Nigeria. Now, Atiku believes strongly the requested records will show which papers Tinubu submitted to Chicago State University before he was admitted to study accounting at the same school. Atiku had filed a court application to obtain Tinubu's school records under a U.S. statute that allows documents available in the country to be subpoenaed for use as evidence in a foreign court. Now, he argued that Tinubu had presented contradictory claims in Nigeria, and the CSU, in responding to a previous subpoena, had issued documents that contradicted what Mr. Tinubu had entered under oath in Nigeria. However, Tinubu's legal team at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, led by Oluwole Afolabi and Christopher Carmichael, argued that the August 2022 subpoena that was issued following a request by a Nigerian lawyer, Mike Enahoro Eba, was illegal because he had no valid grounds to seek the documents, especially under education privacy rights. However, Tinubu's legal team admitted that the documents indeed emanated from the CSU, but an unnamed clerk had mistakenly typed the graduation date erroneously. Tinubu's lawyers said, unfortunately, in responding to the illegal and invalid subpoena, CSU made several errors. CSU issued a new diploma for Bola Tinubu, but incorrectly wrote the date of graduation as June 27, 1979. Well, they further noted that changes in school authorized signatories and logos alongside other anomalies like the fonts of the certificates all combined to generate an appearance of wrongdoing. The lawyers said the correct date was June 22, 1979, but that scrivener's errors, along with a change in CSU logo, the font on the diploma, and leadership of CSU who signed the diploma, created the appearance of differences between an earlier issued diploma and the one issued in response to the 2022 subpoena. Now, on his part, Tinubu argued that Atiku should not be requesting the documents because Tinubu's academic records were not part of the initial litigation over the presidential election, adding that Atiku's argument had been focused entirely on cheating and other irregularities around the conduct of the election. Tinubu further argued that the Nigerian court hearing the election petitions had already concluded hearing on arguments, and a judgment is now being anticipated as the elections petition court is expected to deliver judgment on or before September 21st, in line with the Nigerian electoral law that mandates the conclusion of a petition within 180 days after the election. Now, Atiku's legal team, led by Chicago-based attorney Angela Mary Liu, is expected to file a response to Tinubu's argument that the documents should not be sought because they were not part of the Nigerian proceeding and would be inadmissible due to the current stage of the case. There you have it. For those of you who have been following this argument back and forth, we have gotten to the level where things will begin to be more unveiled. All right, as I speak to you, I have joining me from the United Kingdom a doctor of letters, Dr. Oluseyi Ajayi, joining us directly from London. Dr. Oluseyi is a development consultant and a public affairs analyst. Doctor, good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for
How are you
having
doing?
me.
Are we on the same time zone, or are we 1 hour apart?
We're on the same time zone.
I like that. How are you doing today, sir?
Yeah. I'm doing well, and you?
Yeah, very well, very well. Nice to see you again. Quite a while. I know you've been busy.
Thank you so much for
Anyway,
having me.
the Nigeria that you come from, you know, it's always a theater of melodrama and all sorts, especially in the nation's polity. But we're going to stick to the main issues here. I'd like to start with the issue of the palliative. We've had series of invasions of palliative warehouses in different regions of Nigeria. And it seems the trend continues with the recent development in Bayelsa State. How do you see this?
Well, thank you so much once again for having me. Good morning to well-meaning Nigerians in Nigeria and outside the shores of Nigeria. We're indeed at very, very intricate times, and the issues that we are being bedeviled with, they are quite very interesting issues. Well, the incident in Bayelsa isn't just an isolated event. It is a glaring reflection of the systemic failures and what I call negligence that has continued to plague Nigeria for far too long. If we look at it, essentially the removal of petrol subsidy might have been portrayed as an economic decision, but its ramifications have disproportionately shouldered, been shouldered by the already marginalized citizens. The looting, I watched videos and I wasn't shocked. And that's the truth of the matter. The looting and desperation by the people are symptoms of a deeper crisis that essentially demands, an unflinching examination. Let's be clear.
Okay.
Loot is never a justified response, but it is essential that it's very pertinent that we delve into the underlying causes that breed such outrage. The removal, like I said, the removal of a subsidy without adequate measures to protect vulnerable citizens is nothing short of government failure. It's a stark reminder of the disconnect between the ruling class and the everyday struggles of the common man or the masses. Unemployment, as we all know, it's not just a statistics. It's a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. And I'm not saying this just theoretically. We have seen the signs. The lack of job opportunities has not just only stifled economic growth, but has also snatched away the dignity and hopes of millions. When people have no means to sustain themselves, desperation will definitely take over. And this will lead to actions that might be irrational, but born out of sheer desperation. Inflation, on the other hand, that has always been on the increase. We know it to exacerbate problems. The cost of basic necessities, it keeps skyrocketing while wages remain on one point. They are on one point. And government's inability to control inflation is a extension impacting the average poor person. But in the case of our dear country, our dear nation, definitely with the reaction, with the looting, you can. I think you need not tell a blind man, or I mean, what's the real situation is. It's definitely a big no. Um, it is definitely not fulfilling the intended objectives, and in no way impacting the average poor person. We have seen in times past. I mean, this is a issue,
True.
and it's a big shame because politicians have begun to they've politically wired the objectives, internal objectives for which palliatives have been set up in the and reliefs being set up in the first place. There are, and this political wirings are negative, they are unfair, hoarding palliatives for political reasons. I don't know what the intentions are, but in a very dynamic nation, a working nation, an effective nation, the ways we can underscore effective disbursement of palliatives to the people, it borders on different range of factors.
Exactly.
One thing that I've sat down with, I've got friends who are politicians, and I've got friends who are perhaps commissioners. I've had this to say to them: if you are involved in palliative disbursement, I think it's important to take on quite a lot of factors. One is timeliness.
That's right.
I've always, I've tried to work with government as a consultant, whether as an academic consultant or development consultant or whatever, as a problem solver, as case it is. Timeliness, the promptness with which palliatives are distributed, it plays a significant role, and you can see the reactions, as I said earlier. If there are delays in the delivery of relief items, their impacts, the true intended objectives, will not be met. Another factor is transparency. Transparent distribution processes, it will help our states to effectively ensure that palliatives reach the right recipient. You can see that indeed, in some cases also, some senators, they intentionally hoard palliatives for ulterior motives. But when there's transparency in selection criteria and distribution channels, it would reduce issues of misallocation. And that's why you find people from other places even traveling far to come and loot. We found, the statistics revealing that not people just within that that location have been the only ones looting. We've had people coming out from other local governments looting in wherever the palliatives are found. Wow. Adequacy. My advice and suggestion to government: adequacy. The quantity and quality of relief items matter a lot. If palliatives provided are insufficient or not so appropriate for the needs of the recipient, their impact will be limited. And this underscores the failure of palliative disbursement again, the effectiveness.
Yeah.
Governments must wake up. I don't know the kind of processes, frameworks that government set up to ensure that palliatives are effectively distributed. Government must sit down and examine, whether state government, local government, or federal government,
Yeah.
they must sit down and develop, an effective architecture of disbursement. You must understand who you are dispersing to. You must understand how to disperse it. You must understand the number of people that you are dispersing to, so that this program, this process is effective. So government must wake up. We must, we are sitting on a time bomb. And before we know it, we are going to have a big issue. I don't want to use a word that's coming to my mind on national TV, but we're going to have a big issue if we do not wake up. It's simple. Sit down, examine who to disperse to, how to disperse, the number of people that you are going to disperse to, and ensure that the system, the process, the channel is transparent. It's simple. Basic needs that people need, that the common man needs. Water. I saw people running with water, bottles of water. It's laughable and shameful at the same time. I don't want to become emotional, because these are issues that hit me to my bone marrow. The government has to wake up. We have to wake up. We have to wake up.
All right, Doctor. The conversation continues. We'll probably talk about other things, but I want to thank you for the way you have held this. We'll go on a short break. I've been speaking to Dr. Oluseyi Ajayi from the UK, development consultant and a public affairs analyst. We'll go on a short break. Thereafter, we'll be right back. Join us again.
SpectrumTv, broadening your horizon.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai Anyekan on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on channel 421 on Star Times to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories and how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on Star Times DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Nigerian police force, which is the only one allowed by gross level. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but you can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my
this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
right, many thanks for staying tuned and welcome back on the show as we deal with the last third of the program. Our focus shifts back to the interaction that has ensued between Atiku and the current president of the Federal Republic, talking about, a subpoena from the United States. It appears Atiku is bent on knowing the exact certificates Tinubu had submitted to fill in some of the gifts and a lot of questions that have arisen. I still have with me my guest who is joining us virtually from the UK, Dr. Oluseyi Ajayi. You have been following developments. As it is now, you remember that earlier this month, Atiku requested court approvals to subpoena Tinubu's files domiciled with the Chicago State University. I think it's now called University of Chicago or something, because he believed that the documents will clarify glaring inconsistencies in the president's background, totally out of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. To what purpose will this really serve? Because the PEPT will announce a court judgment, be it September 16. Some say September 16, some say September 21st. But anytime from now, we'll be hearing the PEPT